Welcome to Attracting Your Life. I'm your host, Maija, and we're coming to you live on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Today's my first show, so please be patient with me. I'm trying to get all this together, but today on the show, I just kind of want to introduce myself and tell you how did I get here and why I'm so passionate about helping people to elevate their mindset to basically to bring the whole consciousness of the universe to a higher level. I think I'm extremely passionate about that. I started Attracting Your Life about 6 years ago, I think 6 years ago, and it's a consulting practice. And in this consulting practice, I help my clients to promote and help them to become the master of their universe. And people may say, what does that mean? So many of us have so many goals and they say, oh, I want to achieve this, I want to do this, but they don't know how to do that. Or you may find yourself in a place that you don't know what is your life purpose, what you're here for, and what you want to achieve in life. So those are the kind of clients that come to me. Also, I have some clients who come to me with a child that they think are gifted. So we're going to talk about that too. I am a certified life coach. I use different modalities. Like I do love the drum beating of a shaman circle, or you may find that I may talk about tantra, the spiritual part and the physical part. I mean, we're all grown here. I hope there's no kids listening, but these are the kind of things that I want to kind of talk about and cover in this show. I also kind of want to hit on different other options. There's so many different ways to get a higher understanding, tuning into that God part of you, that there is no such thing as right or wrong. So through this show, I would like to discover that, introduce you to different people, hear feedback from you if you call in. And to tell you more about myself, I've worked as an executive for various top Fortune 500 companies, financial companies for about, 25 years. Wow, I'm dating myself. But through all of that, through all that success, I felt like something was missing. And I felt as if I wasn't really doing anything that mattered, even though people will say, oh, you're so successful, you do this, you do that. But I didn't see how I was touching people and how I was inspiring people to achieve their goals and to actually change people's lives. So that's how Attracting Your Life kind of came out, But at an early age, I knew that I had some type of gift that I wanted to share with people. I'm very strong advocate about the universal laws. And if you continue to tune into this show, you'll learn about that and we can talk about that. These universal laws, they govern the mind, body, and spirit. I'm also a master Reiki teacher. Some people may ask, what is Reiki? I had a couple clients who first come to me and I was like, they would look at the website and they'd say, what is Reiki? So Reiki it's a traditional, very old concept, and you're using basically the spirit to heal people and you're guided by the spirit. And we can probably talk about that in one of our shows as well. This show right here is geared about education. And so many of us are so wrapped up in our lives and just 9 to 5 or making a living that we don't tap into the spiritual part of ourselves. And when you don't really find yourself, you don't know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you can't create the life that you were created to, that you wanted to when you first made the choice to come here. So those are the things that I'm really strong and an advocate about that. I love to teach people different techniques. Some of it might be energy works. A lot of people have come to me and they said, my life is just not going the way I want it. I have all these bills, my car is not acting right. I don't have love in my life. And they just concentrate on the negative and they don't see the positive that may be going on in their life. Their mindset is so concentrating on the negative part that they don't see the beauty and they're not grateful. So an attitude of gratitude invites more things into your life. And some of those are the things that I kind of teach my clients about that. But my main goal is to teach people how to achieve their life purpose and how to master their universe. Because when you discover who you are, then you become the master of anything that you would like to achieve in your life. And it's not like I'm telling you that where you are right now, that it may not be the perfect place for you. But if you have some questions in your life, like I'm not really sure about who or what impact I'm having in life, you may find yourself drawn to some of the concepts that we'll be talking about in this show. This show is an hour show. It was something that was brought to me. I attracted it to me because I knew I wanted to impact more people. So I love the clients that I have, but I knew I wanted to talk to a broader spectrum of people. And so when this opportunity came my way, I jumped to it. But of course, it was something that I attracted into my life because I put it out there that I wanted to impact a larger audience. So today, today I do have a couple things that I want to cover about some of my services, but I also want to tell you how I end up here. What characteristics that brought me into intuitive counseling, intuitive coaching, Reiki, shamanism, and just being open to like a Gnostic life, I guess, path of just finding more information. And many of you may find yourself there and may ask yourself, like, what's next? What do I do to get to another level of understanding? And I hope through this show, or if you want to work with me, that we can find that path for you. Everyone has their own individual path. And it's about having the courage to walk and identify how your path may be different than the next person, and having that courage to walk it. And sometimes you may have to walk alone. It's the person who's willing to stand out in the crowd that really makes the more impact in the society. And those are the people who are drawn to me, and I'm drawn to them. And I am honored to be here on this radio show, this platform, to share these types of concept and these type of modalities or questions that we all have at one point in our lives. It's just about finding the courage to discover what the answer is. And the answer is different for everyone. And I'm happy that you're tuning in today. We have a couple guests that we may be having on the show. But today, like I was saying, it's just all about knowing me and learning about me. And if you have any questions, I hope that you can call in. The number of the radio show is 1-866-451-1451. But for right now, we're about to go on commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you about how I kind of grew up and how that helped with my journey. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. This is Attracting Your Life, and I'm your host, Maija. And once again, we're coming to you live from BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. And before the break, I was telling you about just a journey of how I got here, what Attracting Your Life is about. And this whole show is going to be about that, unless you guys call in for any questions. I was told that we had one caller on the line who had a question.
Yes.
Hi, how you doing? Welcome to Attracting Your Life. And who's this?
Virginia.
Hey, Virginia. What is your question today?
How do I find balance so that I can attract my life?
How do you find balance so you can attract your life? That's a really good question. And that's something that I kind of go over with a lot of my clients. And the first thing that we start about is learning how to meditate. Some people, when they think about meditation, they think that they have to sit there Indian style and have a whole bunch of incense around them. But meditation is just finding that stillness. And some people have difficulty finding that stillness. So I can even tell them to use music, use stuff. You can simply go on YouTube and look up binary beats for meditation. I use that for my kids because sometimes they have a hard time of focusing and sitting still. And I say start as quick as 5 minutes. And during that meditation time, you can build it up as you find more and more stillness inside yourself. But it's through your stillness that you will find the answers to a lot of your questions. And just finding that balance, because we have so much noise pollution going on in this world. We got things coming to us from the news, and I'm sorry, news just actually exaggerate things that are occurring. It's not as bad as people think, and everything has to do with perspective, but it's about tuning yourself out from the noise, from the pollution of everything that's going on, and finding that stillness inside of you. If you find that you're having difficulty finding balance, it's because there's too much distraction or too much pollution around you, and pollution can come in energy, and that's what affects us in our balance. Do you understand what I'm saying, Virginia?
Yes.
Okay. That was a really good question. And thank you so much. I hope you continue to listen and give me a call if you want to work some more about that. It's not an easy process. It doesn't come overnight, but I would just say just start with 5 minutes of just meditating and then gradually increasing it and checking out YouTube for binaural beats of meditation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So back to me. So at an early age, I really knew that something was different about me. Parents would say it. I felt like I didn't fit in with friends. I think before the break, I was telling you that I'm very passionate about things, but at an early age, I was passionate about helping people. And I felt that I was very convicted. I found convictions that other people thought, yeah, that would be nice. But later on in life, I realized I would have been considered what people call indigo child. But growing up in the 70s, spiritual intuitive gifts was not a form of intelligence. mainstream would call intelligence like linguistics, logical, musical, mathematical. Those type of things were viewed as forms of intellectual studies, basis, or spiritual and intuitive gifts was not viewed as an intelligence. Now we have emotional intelligence. We have all different types of form of intelligence. And some of my clients will come to me and tell me that they have a child that just really doesn't fit in. And I guess my heart is passionate about that as well, because I was one of those children. I found myself very open to hearing different things or feeling people in a different manner. And I had a strong conviction of what I felt as if a person was being taken advantage of. And indigo children are a group who basically spearhead change. They basically came around the 70s and 80s, and these children were people who didn't really, I hate to say, but really didn't respect authority that much. They always questioned authority. They always wanted to know why things have to be this way, and why do we have to follow this format. That's one aspect. These people, indigo children, are very creative children. They are children who found a different way to think outside of the box than everybody else. But they really didn't fit into groups. They stood out. They were very eccentric. I'm sure some of my friends, if they're listening to right now, they can remember I grew up in the 80s. I had an earring in my nose. I wore black lipstick, red eyeliner. I just stood out. I was always looking to find like a different way of doing things. And indigo children are also very susceptible to spiritual things. They'll walk into the room and they can feel the energy of everybody in the room. And sometimes would get them sick if that energy or the vibration was very low. So I knew that. I would feel that. My parents had a difficult time with that. My parents came from a third world country. They came from Haiti. I am very proud to be a Haitian. And I think some of that kind of helped me of understanding the gifts that I had, of just being open to different modalities of spirituality and realizing that there's not one path. So I was very lucky, so to speak, or blessed, or whatever you want to call it, to understand that there's many different paths to get that center godlike energy. And everybody's path, when you first start out, they feel that is the only way. And as you walk through that path, you start realizing everything blends into the middle to find that God center part, or that higher self, or that super consciousness, whatever you would like to call it, whether you call it God, Jehovah, Allah, whatever you want to call it. It's all one in mind of a super consciousness. And so that's kind of my journey growing up. It wasn't an easy one, but it's something that I know that a lot of people go through. And I think that's why I find a lot of people drawn to me, and I'm drawn to them. Once again, I'm your host, Maija. We're about to go into a commercial. You're listening to Attracting Your Life, and stay tuned and we'll talk more about this. Welcome back, everyone. This is Attracting Your Life, and I'm your host, Maija. And once again, we're coming to you live from BBM Global Networks and TuneIn Radio. And before the break, I was telling you about indigo children, and I had identified myself, or later on in life, I realized I was an indigo child. But I also would like to talk to you about crystal children. These are children who came into this realm now around the 90s. Some of them came in the 80s, and some of them came in the 90s. Most of these children, parents are indigo children, they were indigo children. So I have two boys, and I am blessed, or I don't know, sometimes I question if it's a call to bless. I have a crystal child, and these crystal children emanate pure vibration of love. They are very simple-minded about their love. They are clear about. They are immediately likable. It's either you love them and like them, or you can't stand them. They have a deep affection, and they start to talk about deep intuitive things that most adults in their 80s don't even understand. They find themselves to be a little bit telepathic. They walk into the room, they can see things or feel things. They may be clairvoyant. These children are very in tune with their spirituality. So, but indigo children kind of spearheaded and opened it up for the crystal children to come in. So crystal children are beautiful. They're just wonderful. And you know when you're around a crystal child, because people will say, oh, this person has such an old soul. That's one of the ways that people kind of identify that. I think I was told that we have a caller on the line. Caller, are you still there?
Yes. Hello.
Hi. What's your name?
Kimberly. Hello.
Hi, Kimberly. Thank you for calling Attracting Your Life. What's your question?
Well, my question is, how do you know if you have a crystal child?
Oh, that's a great
What are some of the signs? What's some more of the signs? I
Okay.
think I have a couple of them.
That's a great question. How about if I kind of go over two sets of how to go identify indigo child or a crystal child? So let me kind of go over first indigo children. These indigo children they feel very entitled. They are born knowing that they're special. Indigo children, they're destined to be here, and they know that they're destined to be here. They have high expectations about themselves and others. So they don't understand when a person lies. They're like, why would you do that? They're very, as a matter of fact, they're very perceptive. And they question authority. And I think I talked to you about that. I had that and they're extremely creative. They're change makers. And if they don't find the ability to change, they end up getting extremely depressed. Some of these indigo children, if they don't create things, they find themselves manic depressive. They suffer a life of almost like torment because they can't find a way to create and change things. They are very driven. They find themselves focused on one thing and they're driven, and they are passionate, and they have various psychic abilities. They may tend to be frustrated if they don't find themselves changing things in a big picture. So those are indigo children, okay? So crystal children, I kind of touched on it, is they vibrate in pure love. And ways that you can find out if you have a crystal child: physical features. Their eyes are extremely big. Like, you look at their eyes and you kind of get lost in them when you're talking to them. They're immediately likable, or you can't stand them. It's one or the other. They don't walk on a line like some people like, that person's all right. It's either you love them or you can't stand them. And when I mean by can't stand them, they just seem annoying to you. And they don't mean to be annoying. It's just that they ask questions that you don't know the answer to. And you're wondering why this 5-year-old or 9-year-old is asking you these questions that you're like, I don't know. They are deeply affectionate. They love to hug and kiss, and they love to touch, and they see when you're hurting, and they just want to come and just embrace you. They feel when you're hurting. They may start talking later on in life, and sometimes parents get worried when their child are not talking right away. Sometimes that could be a sign that they are a crystal child. Some of these children are diagnosed as being, I'm sorry, forgive me, I'm trying to think of what the word is, Asperger. Some of these children are diagnosed as that way, but really it's just because they're very in tune with the spiritual aspect that it takes them a while to come out to the outside, to the physical form. They're highly psychic. They have telepathic communication. So if a parent finds themselves with a child who's not really communicative, they may want to use music. They love music. They will hum a tune, or they just love when music is around, or they play very well with music. They're peaceful. Like I said, they're very loving. However, if they feel that you have a low vibration or low energy, or what other people may call they're evil or mean, they're very standoffish. So one of my children are crystal children. I never push them if they don't want to hug or embrace or say hello to somebody, because they feel that person's energy right away. They're protective of the planet. And what I mean by that, they see like a tree, or they think about ways to protect nature. They're animal lovers. They're very empathetic. They feel everything about people. And you may find them, and one of my kids are like this, you may find that they are vegetarians. I'm a big meat eater. So it was very odd when my child, who's 9 years old, was telling me that I want to be a vegetarian, and knew what they understood about being a vegetarian. So I even had to change my lifestyle to support his lifestyle. And I have no opinion about that. So I don't want anybody emailing me or calling me talking about, vegetarian versus meat eaters. It's just these children have a tendency to gravitate to that. They love crystals and rocks, the vibration of that. They have a direct connection. Some of the questions that they ask, they meditate or they tune in, they understand the answer actually better than most adults. And they're fearless. They really don't understand why they can't try to do things. And Another characteristic, as I said earlier, their parents are indigo. Their parents used to be indigo children. So I hope I answered your question, Kimberly. Thank you again for calling. And we're about to go on commercial break. But if you have any questions, please give us a call at 1-866-451-1451. And once again, I'm your host, Maija, and you're listening to Attracting Your Life Radio. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. This is Attracting Your Life. Once again, I'm your host, and we're coming to you live from BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. And before the break, we were talking about crystal children and indigo children. And I was just kind of talking to you about my life journey and getting here to Attracting Your Life. But one thing I did notice is I was probably in my 20s, and I was complaining a lot about my life. I was not happy with a lot of things, and I realized that I was the one who was making my life the way it was. I was the master of my universe, including the negative parts. And so I had to learn like 4 major concepts, which I would like to share with you guys, that I basically follow through, and this is how I create everything in my life. And the first step is developing an attitude of gratitude. This is so important in attracting the things that you want in your life. The next one is asking. A lot of different religions, or a lot of people say you don't have it because you didn't ask for it. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. So you have to ask. If you ask, then you're actually putting it out there and helping you understand and identify what you want. And during this asking process, you may find that there's maybe some contrast, and which is completely okay. Because through the contrast, you realize how to tweak the questions you're asking for or the item that you're asking for. And the third step is believe. Believe that you have it. So even, for example, this radio show that we're on, that you're listening to me on, I had to believe that I had it. So they had approached me about it like last year. But because the belief wasn't strong enough, it didn't really manifest to you guys listening to me until April 5th. So the belief of having it, actually seeing yourself doing it, that's part of visualization, and we could talk about that at a different show, but it's about actually seeing. I actually saw this before it even occurred, and that's part of the believing process. And then the fourth step, which is extremely important, just like all the others, but it's receiving it. And it sounds so simple. They're like, of course I'm going to receive if it's here. But there's so many of us who feel as if we're not worthy of it, that we can't even receive it. We haven't even opened the space for it. So those are like the 4 concepts that I live my life. And I just want to kind of touch bases on that. We can have more of an in-depth show of it, but it's kind of helping you understand who I am and how I came to know who I am so I can create and become the master of my universe. Do we have a caller on the line? They just told me we have a caller on the line.
Yes,
hello?
This is Javin, and I have a question. It's kind of on what you just talked about, but that attitude of gratitude that you talked about. I know so often we're taught to, look for external sources for our happiness and our gratitude, but can you just kind of touch on that, whether this is, things we need to say aloud, or is it writing it down? Like, how do you develop that mindset?
Well, let me tell you a little bit more about myself. So at the time when I realized about or understood and really could work the attitude of gratitude, I was working 3 jobs, still in college, paying for my own way to college. And I hated all 3 of my jobs. And I complained constantly. And I really don't know who introduced me to this attitude of gratitude, but I understood that when I started immediately, when I get up out of bed, when my feet are in the process of hitting the floor, I am thanking. I am finding things to be thankful for. Thankful for the house. Thankful. I live in Chicago, so I'm thankful that I have heat in the house. Thankful for everything. I find every little thing to be thankful for, because what happens is during the process of being thankful for every little thing, you open yourself in that vibration. And I have to touch on this. I don't know how many people understand about what I mean by vibration. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience, and we are energy. Energy is vibration. So you open yourself and you expand yourself to receive more when you are grateful for everything that you have. Grateful, and whatever it takes. If you find yourself to be depressed or find yourself in a low state, start with the small things. Thankful that you have water. Thankful that you have food. Thankful that you have, a house, whatever it takes. And it's through that attitude of gratitude that you open yourself up for more. And sometimes it takes that you have to turn off the TV. You got to turn off the outside things. When people start coming to you about drama and different things, you just tune it out. Say, I'm sorry, I can't hear that. There are times that I don't even even answer my phone because maybe some of the information that keeps coming to me is just negativity. And I don't need that in my life. I don't want that. I don't want to attract that because that energy, like attracts alike. So if I'm hearing all this, if I'm drawn to this negativity, then that's what I'm telling the universe or telling myself, this is what I want more of. So it's being grateful. If you have $5 in your bank account, just be grateful for that. Be grateful for everything. It's through the attitude of gratitude that you're actually telling God, source energy, whatever you want to call it, that you want more of this goodness that's coming in your life or that is present in your life, however small it is. Did I answer your question, Jevin? Oh, okay. I hope I did answer your question, but it's not always concentrating on the external things too. It's also concentrating on about yourself. Thankful that you have a sound mind, that you're able to hear, that you have your senses, whatever it takes. But through that attitude, then you can find ways to ask for what you're looking for. So through asking for what you're looking for, I tell people all the time to start out by writing. What do you want? And what does that look like that you're looking for? Do you want a new car? Okay, what kind of car do you want? Do you want a Jeep? Do you want a 4-door sedan? You have to be a little bit more specific on what you want. And it's through your being specific that you kind of put yourself in that place to vibrate and accept for that to come in. Go test drive the car that you think that you want. I know for a long time for me, I kept asking, I needed a new car. And I kept asking for one specific car. And not until I went to go test drive that car that I sat in that car and I said, I can't stand this car. It just didn't look as beautiful for me in the inside as it was in the outside. And I'm not going to tell you what kind of car because some people may like that car, but you have to feel it. Envision yourself driving it. But for me, I had to actually go test drive it. And when I test drive it, I realized that's not the car I want. So for 3 months, I've been asking for a particular car, but not until I test drive that I realized this is not the car I want. So I started shifting. So that's what I was talking about earlier about the contrast. Contrast is okay. You may find yourself in a difficult situation. You may find yourself in a job that all of a sudden it doesn't suit you anymore. That is perfectly okay. You may find yourself like a job that all of a sudden everybody's coming up against you. That's a contrast. That's when you go back to the drawing board and you try to figure out what do you want and write it out. And when you write it out, test it out. See if it's a car, go test out the car. If it's whatever it may be, if it's a particular job, interview a person who does that job and see if this is something that you really want to go into. It's through the process that you are able to understand what you really want. Okay, we're going to go to commercial break. Once again, you're listening to Attracting Your Life, and I'm your host, Maija, and we're coming from BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Stay tuned, and we'll talk about more about these steps.
Are you looking for
Okay, welcome back, everyone. This is Attracting Your Life, and I'm your host, Maija, and we're coming to you from BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. And before the break, I was telling you about the 4 steps that I kind of live my life with. This has nothing to do with religion or creed or belief. It's just practices that I seem to find that works and has helped me manifest a lot of things in my life and help my clients manifest a lot of things in your life. Jevin called in and he asked a great question about gratitude. And from gratitude, we talked about asking. And from asking, we kind of talked about the contrast. And sometimes when we're asking for a particular thing, we may find out that we really didn't want that. And that's okay. That's part of the asking process of understanding what you want. From asking, then there is believing. So when you believe that you have it, and I laugh is because you have to have unwavering faith. So it may take you a little bit to achieve it. So I would like to talk about this process about me being on the air. This took a year for me to get here. There was a lot of different things that occurred in my life and my family's life that made it happen a little bit slower, but I always stayed focused in knowing and believing it was happening. And when you have unwavering faith, the universe, God, source energy, Allah, whatever you want to call it, works with you. So when it works with you, you may have some contrast in that process. It may happen in a way that you don't think it should happen. You have to be okay and go with the flow of the process. So others may say, oh my God, I can't believe it's taken you a year or whatever. Tune it out and have an attitude of gratitude that you know and you've already asked for it and believe that it's happening. right? Cut off the naysayers. There's a lot of friends, family members that you just have to cut off. Not because you don't love them, it's just that they don't support the understanding that you are the master of your universe, not anybody else. There's nobody sitting in the sky making it happen. It is you with your thoughts, with your words, and your actions and your belief. So when you know that you're empowered to create things, you have to open up to receive. Know that you're worthy of receiving whatever you've asked for. And everybody has a different foundation. One person may be asking for for transportation, maybe just asking for a monthly pass for transportation, CTA or Metro, wherever you're at. And another person may be asking for just eco-friendly car, while another person is asking for a luxury car. All of us have different levels. But be okay with the process and be okay in how it comes out in your life, because it's through that process that you feel comfortable in asking for the next step. So when I was introduced to this in my 20s, all I could do was just be grateful. I just had an attitude of gratitude. That's all I could do. And smiling, because through smiling, you're opening yourself up. Single women out there, stop talking negative. I have some friends who are not really, I can't say my friends, because all my friends, they kind of get this because we all vibrate on the same level. But I hear other people who will say, there's no good men out there. Well, if that's what you're saying, guess what? That's what you're going to attract. No good men who are not worthy of what you want to create in a relationship. Speak life into your situation at all times. And it may seem difficult. It may seem like, why am I doing this? Find yourself writing little sticky notes and putting on the mirror to remind you of the positive things that you want in your life. And believe that you receive it. Believe it's coming. And it may come differently than what you thought it was going to come. Versus if you're looking for a man and you say he has to be 6'6", okay, it may come in a 5'6" man, but he's still a great man. Just be open and okay with the process. That's what I learned, and that's what I think that a lot of my clients have learned. If you go to my website, which is www.attractingyourlife.com, you'll see a lot of my different services, and I have some classes that are coming up. Next week, I'm going to have one of my dear friends come on the show. We're going to talk about a seminar that we're going to be having. I have another seminar that's coming up in October, which is going to be a Tantra retreat for couples and for singles who are interested in learning more about Tantra, which is a modality that really connects you with your own source energy inside of you and using that energy to manifest. Some people, when you hear Tantra, they just think about the sexual aspect, the sex aspect. That's in it, but you first need to understand who you are and understand your power, and then how to use that energy to create and manifest. So that'll be in October, and we'll talk more about that at later shows. But for me, it was just important for you guys to understand who I am and what I'm passionate about and my journey in getting here. Doing this show every Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. I think what else I have to tell you? I think you guys know my background. I still have difficulty saying some words sometimes, so bear with me if I try to pronounce something and it doesn't come out real clear. Charge it to my mind, not my heart. But I feel very happy and honored that you guys are listening to me. I always want you guys to call in with questions. I hope that the segments that I bring to you have an impact in your life. One person had asked me through email, they asked if I would do reading, because as an intuitive counselor, I do Akashic reading. I find that to be very personal, and I think it should be done one-on-one versus through the waves. There's something about the waves through electronic devices that you open yourself up to other things. And I'm not trying to be spooky or weird. It's just that if you ever want a reading, but if you go on my website, you'll see the different classes, different seminars, and different services that I have that are coming up. Another thing that I like to do that's dear to my heart is moon manifestation ceremonies. And in these ceremonies, I don't really go into the whole astrology aspect of it, but during a full moon, we release things that no longer serve us. The moon affects any body of water, like the ocean, lakes, and our bodies are 75% of water. So of course, there's a full moon. When there's a full moon, it affects us. That's why you hear people always say, oh, it must be a full moon because everybody's out there. I kind of want to talk to you a little bit more about the full moon manifestations. So we're going to go to commercial break. And when we come back, we'll talk more about that. But once again, you're listening to Attracting Your Life. And I'm your host, Maija. And we're coming from BBM Global Network. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. This is Attracting Your Life. And I'm your host, Maija. And once again, we're coming to you from BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. And I must have talked up my friend because I was told that Ray Hickman is on the line. Is that true?
Hello, Maija. What a great show you're having.
Thank you, my dear. And this is the person I was talking about. This is Ray, and I was blessed to meet him last year at his seminar with the Cavu Center. And you want to talk about that seminar last year? Because it was so great. It was so impactful. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. We had guest leaders from 8 different states who came to Tulsa to celebrate the positives about sex, love, and faith. It was an intimacy, sexuality, and spirituality conference.
I just want to stop right there.
It was a 2-day event. We had a wonderful time.
It was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, people, the Bible Belt, and we were talking about sex, intimacy, and sexuality. It was huge. We had people of all walks of life there. And how many people were there? It was small, but it was impactful. I mean, there was
3.
There was what?
3.
There was not 3 people
I'm
there.
just kidding.
Oh, I was like, wait.
It was great.
You see why I love this guy, you guys? I mean, our energy when we get together is awesome. But it was great. It was great. And we're having another one that we're trying to work on. And Ray's going to be on the show next week. And we're going to talk more about that. But since he called, I couldn't just let him stay online. I wanted him to kind of introduce what we're going to be talking about next week. So do you want to kind of give him a segment?
Sure, but I want to tell you what a great show you're having tonight. You're setting the stage for a wonderful run.
Thank you. I'm really excited about it. Like I said, this was a manifestation that it's been working on for a year, and I kept believing that it was coming because I kept calling it out there and asking that I wanted to impact a larger audience. And one thing about BBM Global Network, it's nationwide. I mean, overseas, and not just nationwide, it's overseas. So I hope a lot of the listeners who are listening, they will, reach out, tell other people about this segment and can impact more people because that's what it's about, sharing that knowledge.
As one of the keynoters for last year's conference, you attracted many people to your life. You did a great job, so much, in fact, that I wanted to work with you again. I'm excited about the fact that we've got these seminars coming up. One that we're working on shortly will be knowing yourself and others better. It'll be an exploration about who we are as human beings, male and female, also the masculine and feminine aspects of each and every person.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's going to be next week. You guys are able to tune in. Ray, thank you so much for calling, and we're going to really pick Ray's brain next week about that. So we're about to go on a commercial.
Great.
Thank you so much. Take care. We're about to go on a commercial break, and when we come back, this is the last segment. Okay, like I said, this is my first show, you guys. So one thing I just kind of want to make sure that you guys are aware that we're going to talk to Ray next week, and we're just going to explore all different avenues and modalities of how to just raise our consciousness and to find out who we are and how we become the master of our own universe. If you guys enjoyed learning more about me, always make sure that you're asking those questions about yourself of who you are. And if you need any help, always reach out to me at mpb@attractingyourlife.com, or you can find me on my website, attractingyourlife.com. I hope you come and listen to me next Thursday. It's always 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find me at bbmglobalnetwork.com or TuneIn Radio. This was a phenomenal time. I hope that we talk next week.
You have been listening to Attracting Your Life with your host, Maija. Listen each week as Maija will help you become more aware and tap into the universal conscious mind. Here on Attracting Your Life with Maija.
been listening to the BBM Global Network. The ideas, views, and opinions of this broadcast are those of the participants of the program and are not necessarily the ideas, views, and opinions of the BBM Global Network Company.